Hi and welcome back. My name is Alana and today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in January. So here is where I admit that January was a very busy activities month and a not so busy reading month. As you're about to be able to tell by the number of books that I read, which was 3. Yeah, I read 3 books in the month of January, where usually I would have read about 7 or 8. But it's fine, it's fine. I had a very busy social month, but the reading did suffer a little bit. So in January, I did have a home visit. I went back interstate and visited family, and I also had a few other little things booked in here and there, just personal life stuff, which went really well. And I also managed to upload 5 YouTube videos, which, considering how busy the month felt, I'm super proud that I accomplished this. And to go along with that, the videos that I did put out in January were either reflections on 2021 or things to look forward to for 2022. So I did actually get some of that content that I wanted to get out. So props to me for that department. But yeah, without further ado, let's talk about the 3 books that I read in last month. So the first book that I finished was actually the best of the month for me, and that was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This I read in 2.5 days. I smashed this one out. I loved it. It got 5 stars from me. So this is the latest novel from Taylor Jenkins Reid, who is the author of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones and the Six, plus some other things as well. But those are the ones that she's most well known for and which are her most popular reads. And this one did not disappoint as well. I got this for Christmas, so actually reading a book not long after I got it, a wild concept, and I did it. So maybe that's also why I'm so very proud of having already read this one. But essentially in this one we follow 2 different timelines. So we are in 1983 in Malibu, and we're following a group of siblings who have a famous dad and a regular mum, and their messy life as some of the siblings become famous. And then the second timeline that we're following is actually their parents and how they met and everything that rolls from there. The hook on this blurb though is that every so often Malibu ends up burning, and at the start of this novel we are told at the end of this novel the house will have gone up in flames, and you're about to find out why, basically. So we start at 7 AM and we go all the way through until the night's finished, and as the day and the night roll along we discover the different secrets of the different siblings and how that's going to impact their dynamic. And we also, like I said, see that second timeline of their parents meeting and their parents falling apart and all the messiness and the famous people bullshit and that type of thing all in here. And I loved it. When I recommend this one at work, I pitch it as rich people drama because that is 100% what it is, except for the siblings' start is grounded more in reality. They have a very different lifestyle when they were young to when they are grown up. So I did appreciate that element of it as well. There are a few different parts in this that I really adored and just spoke to me. There's also this great section where one of the main characters describes different traumas from their childhood as carrying around different boxes and storing these different boxes within your subconscious, and sometimes you take that box out and you look at it and you put it back but you never throw it away. I loved that. So yes, I love this one because we got the 2 different timelines, we got multiple narrators, we got a little bit of rich people drama which was grounded in reality, we got short, sharp chapters as well, and this intrigue of how do they get from A to B. And Taylor Jenkins Reid did a great job again. I would put this up there with my favourite of hers, which is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I don't know how that's ever going to get pushed off the pedestal that is in my mind, but this came really close. Read it if you love rich people drama. And then the next book that I finished in January was Silver by Chris Hammer. I can now officially say that I have read every Chris Hammer book to date, and yes, they have all been through audiobook. I just love the narrator that gets chosen to do his audiobooks. It's the same one so far. And this one is Australian crime set on the coast this time, and it got 3.5 stars from me. If you've watched any of my recent wrap-ups, you know that I've kind of been on a Chris Hammer binge, and that is because he writes really good crime plots that pull from everywhere and all weave together and make this one massive churning engine of mystery. In this one we follow Martin Scarsden, who is the narrator of his first book, Scrublands. This book actually follows on from the first book, Scrublands, but I've read them out of order, and I think it's safe to say you can do that because I didn't feel like my reading experience was wrecked having read the third book in the Martin Scarsden series and then coming back to this one. So do with that what you will, but I still enjoyed reading this one. We got a different setting again. Scrublands is very outback bush. This one is the coast, and then you have Trust, which is set in Sydney in the city. A quick synopsis of this book is that Martin, who is moving back to his hometown of Port Silver, walks in on a crime scene that his partner has just been semi-involved in, and that is the fact that someone has died in front of them, and things ensue from there. I loved in this one the hometown mentality that came through on the page in this one. It felt very real to my own experiences coming from a small town and returning home and whatnot. I really enjoyed the crime elements in this as well, and how it more related personally back to Martin as main character, which differs from the first book. And yeah, there's always a lot going on in Chris Hammer's novels. He really packs every page full of mysteries and different crimes and all these different strands, but again, it all pulls together quite nicely, and I still did really enjoy this one. It's not my favorite of his, but it's also very, very consumable. So yeah, 3.5 stars from this one, and I'm all caught up. I did it. I caught up on all of his published works. And then the final book that I did finish was Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. This got recommended to me at work, and I snagged an ARC copy or an advanced reader copy of this, and I'm so glad I read this. This ended up getting, I think, 4.5 stars from me. 4 stars, sorry. This is teen fiction and so wholesome. So in this story we follow Artemisia, who is training to be a grey sister, so a nun within this world. There are spirits, there is possession, there is holy orders and all the history that goes along with that. And events kick off in this one when the main character's convent is attacked by possessed soldiers. They don't know why, and she's sent down into this crypt, and unfortunately the nun or sister who was in control of this revenant, which is this spirit thing, it was a little bit vague for me, but essentially whoever was in control of that has died, and now Artemisia has to become the revenant's vessel, essentially, and powers come along with that, but at a cost. If you've read anything else by this author, I definitely think you're going to enjoy this. This is the author of Sorcery of Thorns and Enchantment of Ravens. I have read a Sorcery of Thorns and I loved that book. I've yet to read her other one, but I'll get there at one point in my life. And this had a similar vibe to the demon and the main character in Sorcery of Thorns. So if you liked that dynamic of a pairing that shouldn't work and shouldn't feel wholesome but does, pick this one up. One of the main things that I loved about this book too was the author's gentle nudging to look out for yourself. There are a few times in this when the main character had just been through a battle and this revenant says, you know, you need to stop and you need to take a minute and you need to heal. And the main character goes, no, I'm fine. And this otherworldly being goes, no, you're not. Stop. Take a breath. Look after yourself. And these gentle nudges happen throughout the book, and it's just a really fresh look at what this genre tends to overlook, which is YA protagonists that just get beaten and beaten and beaten and go, it's fine, but it's not. And I love that this book subverted that and said, no, you're not fine. It says how you're doing, look after yourself, and then step forward. So special thanks to Work and Simon & Schuster for giving me a free copy to read. I love this. This has been on my staff picks at work now for nearly a month. So those were the books that I finished in January, but I was also slogging my way through some really big tomes throughout the month as well, which nearly got finished but didn't quite, which then affected my overall numbers for the month. Even though numbers don't matter, but to me, it kind of does. So one of those books was Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I am, as you can see, very close to finishing this. I think I have about 20 pages to go. Yes, this is my train ticket from when I went home, and I'm really enjoying this one. I read I want to say like a good chunk of this during my travels, but the last bit is dragging for me, and this is also one that I started off on audiobook to get through the first couple of chapters to get used to the narrative voice, and then I jumped to my physical copy, and I am really enjoying this. It's not a book that you can read quickly. So while I didn't feel super accomplished for not finishing this in January, I probably will in a couple of days because it's the first week of February and I can say that I've pretty much nearly finished a book, even though I was reading this for half of the month. And then the other one was my audiobook choice for the month, which I have just now finished today, and that is Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. This is the first one of their novels that I've ever read before, and I really enjoyed this one. The audiobook was quite long. I think it was like between 15 and 18 hours long, something like that. So again, took me a little while to get through, but it's really clever, subverting all these different themes and whatnot, and I'm sure I'll talk about that one in another video. But I'm attributing the number of 3 to the fact that another 2 were huge volumes, and they just took time to get through. So those were the 3 books that I picked up in January. We had a historical fiction, we had an Australian crime, and we had a teen fiction. Nice and broad again on my genres. And yeah, I know that February will be more on track for me before we head into the birthday month, which is March. So hopefully reading is going fantastic by the time I post this video. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below a book that you picked up in the month of January, or what you're currently reading at the moment and how you're finding it, and I will see you in another one. Bye!